Hello everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the GameChangers Podcast. I'm Michael, this is Jeff, Simon, and in today's episode we're going to be doing a little recap of the 2021 season so far. There's been a few surprise packets, obviously some standouts and some strugglers. We're going to start with the standouts today. So
I thought we'd be starting with St George's performance yesterday, mate.
We'll get to St George, but we're going to start with the standouts and the teams that are 4-0 or 3-1, even 3-0. We're filming this, at the time we're filming this, Parramatta are playing the Tigers later today. So 4-0, we've got Penrith. They've been a massive standout and a team that I personally thought it wasn't set in stone that they were just going to continue their good form from last season, and I really wanted to have a look at them as 2021 got started to see how the grand final loss impacted them, whether they'd struggle, whether they'd carry on where they left off, and it does seem like they have carried on where they've left off, it looks like.
I actually tipped Penrith to drop a few notches this year. I just thought only because the loss of Tarmau, Mansour and Tedavano, who were really their only experienced players. I think now the oldest player in the team's Api Coruscant. So I thought they'd sort of drop a bit this year, get a bit of experience together and then kick on in 2022. But they just hit the ground running. It's actually scary to think of what they can still achieve because you don't generally play your best footy in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
I think that Origin might really test them as, I think Cleary will be there. Now that Keary's out, Jerome Luai has a chance of playing Origin this year. And then you're going to have Capewell's going to be involved. Maybe Stephen Crichton's going to be involved.
If he keeps up his form, one of the most impressive players to start the season, in my opinion, is Brian Toll.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
They in the games that I've watched them play, I mean, they've obviously played Canterbury,
Melbourne,
the Cowboys,
and Manly.
So, they've had a pretty easy run, but in saying that,
that Storm game,
they just look really big, physical, fast. Everything they do is at pace.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them, and I'm not putting any question marks over them because obviously I think they'll be there, but I just think I'd like to see them back up 1 or 2 games against the top sides, back to back. Because that, for me, that's a real test. If you can do it, because you get yourself up, right, against Melbourne, and then the week after they've got Manly, and you sort of, I don't know, maybe they take their foot off the pedal, and we know how Manly haven't done this year, but look, there's no question they've been impressive, and it's not, for me, it's not a real surprise considering their draw, but they'll definitely be thereabouts. I love the way they play.
Yeah,
I think
I'm struggling to find a weakness in
that.
No,
you're 100%. I mean, they run hard. I personally, and I spoke to you the other day, Simon, about James Fisher-Harris. I think he's the best front rower in the comp. Just his aggression
and he
great worker as well.
Yeah, and he can rip and tear for 20 minutes, and then they bring on that Spencer Lenny.
He's going to be a great player. He'll play Origin at least.
Yeah, he's just got the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
He just comes on and he wants to destroy people. And he generally does.
Definitely be up there for sure.
Yeah. Souths, they're 3-1. They lost round 1 to Melbourne, and they've backed that up with wins against the Bulldogs. They've beaten Manly, and they beat... Who'd they get up against? The Roosters.
The Roosters,
yeah.
So they've had 2 pretty tough games, obviously against
Melbourne and the Chooks.
Melbourne and the Roosters, and they were pretty impressive against the Roosters, I thought. I just, again, probably carrying on the form from last year. Cody Walker has just
He's been unbelievable.
just feels like he's gone to another level. But
Yeah.
when we put it into perspective, he's really playing like he did last year.
Yeah.
You know, he just gives them so many options in attack, and no, they look really strong. You know,
In terms of natural football ability and instincts, I think there's not a better half or even player in the game than Cody Walker. He
Yeah.
can just read a game, know where to inject himself, and he just has that natural footy.
no question, Michael. But he's got a bit of he's got a bit of mongrel in him, which has cost him a little bit, and that's been proven over the years. For South's sake, I just hope it doesn't come at the wrong time, because without him, I'm not sure if they'd be as strong. Because
Yeah, well, who have they got to replace him in the half?
they've got Benji, and I just think
true.
obviously with what Benji's doing at his age, I just think that when he does come on, and this is I'm not trying to be too critical, but it just seems like their attack is all over the shop because they don't know who to give the ball to, and Benji's. If we look at it, Benji plays a lot like Cody off the cuff, and I just to have them both on the field. I mean, he's played dummy half, but is Benji a real? Is he a dummy half? I don't know.
When he comes on, sometimes he plays dummy half, sometimes he plays as like a ball playing lock. But I do think, like people say, the Souths are blessed to have a player like Benji Marshall if Cody Walker or Adam Reynolds go down. And I understand the thinking behind that. But as Tigers fans, and seeing Benji play for us over the last couple of years, he does have his weaknesses, especially in defence and even his attacking decision-making in recent years. And I think...
But he's done that this year as well, Michael. Defensively, he hasn't been as strong, and South, to their credit, have hit him really well.
Yeah.
He's made a couple. I've watched him play basically all the games he's played, and he still has those deficiencies in his game.
Yeah.
But because Souths are playing well,
Yeah.
you're able to hide them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I'd have him in my 17, but look, obviously Wayne Bennett, I'm not going to question his judgment.
I think the thing with South, and I think the reason they're going so well is with the 6 again rule, the game is so fast up the middle, and you've got Damien Cook, Cody Walker, Latrell, and even Cam Murray as a 13 when he's playing in the middle. They all just play front foot footy, and you get that 6 again rule, and you get those guys who just play at speed. They can kill sides in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and just quickly back to Benji. When the Tigers first signed him back at the start of 2018, they had signed Josh Reynolds as well. And Benji was only intended to be a bench utility.
That's right.
And he ended up over 2019-2020 becoming a starting half or 5/8. And I just think at this stage of his career, Benji Marshall isn't a 20-game starting half, but he can be of great value as a utility off the bench.
I think you're right. I think in Southside, if you're going to keep a back on the bench, Benji's ideal because he can play 6, 7, and 9, or he could slot into 13 a bit. If an injury happens to Cook, Reynolds, or Walker, I don't think South can carry him as an 80-minute player. I just don't think he's an 80-minute player anymore.
Yeah,
not at his age.
Fair call. I just, we look at his career, and you guys have seen it a lot more than I have. I just think he's got a lot of errors in his game. Obviously, when South's, end of season games, when it really matters, I think his decision making in some instances has got to be better, and defensively he's got to be stronger because he'll get found out over the season. The stronger sides will find that out.
But I mean, if you're going to roll him out in the semi and you need a try to win a game, he can.
He's going to be there. Yeah, it's rocks or diamonds.
Yeah. We've got Para. So as I said earlier, time of filming, the Parramatta Tigers game is later this afternoon. So they're 3-0, and they've looked very impressive. Headlined or by their win against, they beat the Storm. Yeah, they beat the Storm. Siva scored the double, and I think the key ingredient to their success this season has been their strong forward pack.
Yeah.
And Junior Paulo and Regan Campbell-Gillard, while they were very impressive last season, I think their form, the pair of them, has hit another level. And I'd also like to put a spotlight on Reid Marnie, who I think has always been a great defensive hooker, but I think his attacking game has gone to another level, and you see him making line breaks out of hooker that you wouldn't see him make, and that's off the back of their strong forward pack. So I think they have looked very impressive.
That's a really good call, because I was going to talk about Reid Marnie, but just before I do that, Regan Campbell-Gillard has been outstanding for them this year. And
agree.
I think one of the reasons for that is actually running straight without turning his back. He's putting a dent in the defensive line. Somebody's obviously spoken to him. And this is pretty hard, but he's played. I mean, Junior Paulo's an outstanding footballer. Gives him fantastic go forward. But I just think Campbell-Gillard he's just been really good for them this year. And Reid Marnie's gone to another level. I didn't realise he was that good. He's got a bit of a kicking game.
Yeah.
Defensively, he's strong. They look pretty good. To be honest, I think Madison and Lane, their second rowers, have been very, very quiet this year. But,
that's true.
I mean, I've watched Para, like we all have. Sean Lane last year was really good.
Yeah.
Offensively, a lot of errors in his game this year. Madison's back this week, so, but they're still winning, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
My thing with Parramatta is they're not doing anything different this year that they haven't done the last 5 years.
What's that make the prelim final?
Yeah,
top four.
Yeah, and there's going to be a question mark on them until they win a big semi and get into, the final four or a grand
Well, I
final.
disagree with that. There's going to be a question mark until they win a comp.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have the squad to do it.
As a St George supporter, and I'm using this analogy, there were question marks over Saints for a long time. Everybody kept saying that we had the side to win it, but they just kept falling short. And, they've got more than a monkey on their back. It's a gorilla. It's literally, it's a gorilla. And, we've spoken about coaches and, all that sort of stuff. It's all well and good to make the top four, and as a supporter, you're really happy. But how often do you make the top four and be content? You've got to go on with it. And they continue not to deliver. We talk about those sides, the two sides we've mentioned early. This year, the pressure's on them more than anybody. The expectation once again is really, really high, and the supporters, they just won't stop.
Yeah.
They need to win a premiership, and I think the window is there. I don't think they can do it this year. They have the talent, but it's got to play on their minds. It has to.
Yeah, I don't see, if they don't make the grand final this year, if they limp out of the semis like they have the last 3-4 years, I think the knives will come out for Brad Arthur.
Well, the question's got to be asked.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to get them over the line?
Yeah.
A lot of people would argue, but, he's had success. They win during the season and all of that, but they've made the top four the last 2 years, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. And they've been bundled out twice. And, the pressure's got to be mounting.
Yeah. I think it is.
But, you made a point early, Simon, that they're playing the same way as what they did the last 2 years. I mean, I'm not sure whether they need to change that up, because the game's evolving. We can see that. And things have got to change there. Great start to the season, but it all counts at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Not wrong. We've seen, mentioned earlier, a few surprise packets to start the year. The one we're going to focus on today's episode is the Dragons.
Why? They might be a surprise to you.
No, this was my idea. No, and they weren't a surprise to me, because I mentioned in our season preview, a lot of people tipped St George to come last.
I had them 15th.
Yeah, and
you're a genius, mate.
Yeah, and there's still 20 games left, but after the first 4 rounds, and I thought they'd improve. When you get a new coach, and I rate Anthony Griffin, you always get that, or you hope to get a bounce. We're going to talk about another team or two that haven't had that effect. I just think Anthony Griffin, I thought he would simplify St George. He's working with a lot of players that he had a lot to do with early in their careers in Ben Hunt, Corey Norman and McCulloch. And
Daniel Alvaro.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen him run that hard ever.
Me either.
So
started really well.
Ben Hunt and Corey Norman, because they take up such a large part of St George's cap, it is so important that they're playing good footy. And Ben Hunt unfortunately got injured. He'll miss a few weeks. But Corey Norman's, you can't fault his application or his effort.
Or Adam Clune.
For the first 4 weeks. I just think, Paul Vaughan's come back to a bit of form. Trent Merrin looks to have found something. I don't think he's ever going to get back to where he was, but he's adding something. Tarek Sims has improved. And Josh Kerr, who's a future rep player. My point is, Anthony Griffin seems to be getting the best out of this team. And in the first 4 weeks, their scalps have been the Cowboys, Manly, who are tipped to struggle, but they belted both of them. They won against Newcastle. And my point was, I saw a couple of reports while Newcastle lost their fullback and their 6 and 7 during the game. They still had their pack, had Clemmer, Frizzell, the Saifidi brothers, Mitch Barnett. They got bashed out of that game. Newcastle got 7 6-tackle resets. St George didn't get one. And I was mentioned to the boy, I was watching with Michael yesterday, and there was a point where Newcastle were rucking it out of their own end. They got to tackle 4, they were on the 20-metre line. They got a 6-tackle restart. And then on the 5th tackle, they were kicking it from inside their own half. So they actually had 10 tackles and didn't get to halfway. Now, you can have Andrew Johns, Billy Slater and whoever at halfback. If your forwards aren't going to march forward, you ain't going to win. And St George's forwards just absolutely dominated. Tarek Sims was on a mission yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't seen him play that well for years.
Yeah, and that sparked their win, and that's why they're winning. And you know what? I don't know if they can make the 8, but they've won 3 games already, and there's teams like the Broncos, the Cowboys, Manly. I don't see where their 3 wins are coming from. So St George, they're the big improvers for me.
I tipped them, obviously, at the start of the season because I'm a passionate St George supporter, and I tipped them from my heart to make the 8. When Anthony Griffin was appointed, I was really, really excited for 2 reasons. The guy's a winner, and it was someone from outside the club. And it's been proven, especially with St George, that, and this is no disrespect to the previous coaches, but it's been proven that St George need outside people to be successful because there's just too much pressure internally on the coaches in the past, like Steve Price, and who have a history. They all played for St George, Pricey, Nathan Brown, Paul McGregor. For me, obviously, I'm over the moon. They're 3-1. I think the key to them is that they're running hard. They're playing direct. I don't say this lightly. I watched them. I actually watched the game twice yesterday. I haven't seen them defend like that since the Wayne Bennett days. I thought they bashed Newcastle yesterday.
They did.
Defensively they were strong. I thought Blake Laurie didn't take a backward step. Tariq, you mentioned Tarek Sims. Well, again, with all due respect, that's the expectation with the salary that he's on. Mm-hmm. Paul Vaughan's a State of Origin player. Played nowhere near his potential last year. I don't know what was going on there last year. There was obviously issues, but he's a really good coach. And for me, the biggest difference is that they're playing for him.
Yeah.
And, once players start playing for their coach, you're halfway there,
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but
yep.
The only real change, because roster-wise, there hasn't really been a great change. They bought Jack Bird, who's coming off a couple of years of injury.
He's my favourite player, by the way. I've got a man crush on him.
So
McCulloch.
And you've got McCulloch, but he's replaced McInnes. You've lost McInnes. So it's basically the same squad.
Yeah.
But you've got Corey Norman, Paul Vaughan, Tarek Sims, who have all recaptured their form from the past. Alvaro as well. So my point is that's coaching.
Yeah.
The only real difference in St George is Griffin is there now.
Just with, obviously we've just touched on all the positives, and I don't want to put a downer on it, but I just think with our back three, if we look at their back three compared to the top sides, I just think we obviously lack size, and Matt Duffy makes that up with a bit of pace, and obviously when he's out in the open. But my only fear is that when they get the ball, when they get kicked, when the opposition kicks the ball down, we just don't have those big bodies to bring the ball back like the other sides. But again, you've got to have a player like Duffy, the winger. Michael, you're very good at pronunciations, please, mate. He was outstanding yesterday. Yeah. I mean, the way he takes the ball back, and I just think that Matt Duffy probably needs a bit more support coming back from, the kicks. But look, 3 from 1. If you asked me to take that at the start of the year, I would have taken 2 and 2.
You're cheering.
But we'll see what happens. They've got a couple of tough games coming up in Para and the Roosters, and we play the Warriors at home. So look,
some tests are coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So are we over now that we've talking about St George?
Oh, no, there's a bit to go.
We'll discuss the strugglers. One I'd like to put a bit of focus on is the Cowboys.
Cowboys or Cowgirls?
I didn't think that the Cowboys would improve too much this year, but I'd say it started after I watched their game against the Gold Coast a couple weeks ago, and I saw bench forwards breaking through the line untouched, and it's not an exaggeration when I say untouched. I mean untouched.
I think it started before then, Michael.
Yeah, probably did.
I think it started before then because we have a coach. Sorry, mate.
Dragons.
No. The
yeah,
Cowboys. We have a coach that was signed by the Cowboys, right, with no first grade experience other than last year.
Yeah.
There was enormous hype around him. Now, I need someone to explain to me, right, why a coach in his first year at a club would come out and publicly criticise his best and highest paid player in public, right, why he would do that. I'm still thinking about it now, and I'm still racking my brain. My answer to that is a coach, he hasn't earned the right to do that. He's got no points on the board to criticise. I mean, why would you want Jason Taumalolo to worry about defence when he's the best attacking forward in the competition, if possibly not of all time? Why would you worry about him? Why would you work him up? Why would you give him that defensively? Why would you want him to defend in the middle when you have other players to do that, where it's their job? Wouldn't you try and save his energy?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, me and my cousins, after that round 1 game, we put on the press conference, and when we sort of got an inkling that he was mentioning Taumalolo, he was the only name that he mentioned, and he said, there's more, but you mentioned Taumalolo.
So was he trying to make a statement?
I think he was, but I just don't understand. He is the heart and soul of that club. Michael Morgan's in all likelihood going to retire now, which is unfortunate. But in that case, Jason Taumalolo is the heart and soul of that club. He's the only running forward in the past however many years to win a Dally M. He's their best player.
If you look at that press conference, Michael, he sat up, with his chest puffed out, his first press conference, because I've watched all of them so far. He sat up there in his first press conference.
He doesn't look as confident now.
Well, I was getting to that. Sat up there with his chest out, first game of the year. His last 3 press conferences, he sat there and he's become very sheepish, right? And once again, I'll touch on it again. He's coached 15 first grade games. He has not earned the right to make comments like that. and fancy getting your best player offside. Who do you think they're going to sack? You reckon they're going to sack 10 players before they sack him?
When
He's got 6 years, 7 years left on his contract.
He's going to be lucky. Who have they got, Michael? Who have they got next week?
They've got the Tigers.
at Leichhardt.
At Leichhardt.
They've got the Dogs.
No, stop there.
Yeah.
Stop there. Just stop at the Tigers. Yeah. I'll make a call. And you know me, Simon. I'm very prone to make outlandish statements. I'll make a call now.
On a Sunday afternoon.
I'll make it at Leichhardt Oval. You can't beat a Sunday afternoon at Leichhardt. I'll make a call now. If the Tigers put a number on the Cowboys, I think by Monday morning they'll sack him because they won't have a choice.
Yeah.
After 1 year.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's happened before, mate.
You know what? My whole thing is, if you're new to a club, so he's gone to the Cowboys. Now, I've never been an NRL coach, but wouldn't you think someone of Taumalolo's stature, who is the captain, if I'm a coach, I'm thinking, I've got to get on side with him. And if I can win him over to play my way, everyone else will jump on board, such is the respect that they have for him.
Yeah, I forgot he's the captain now.
If you're offside with the captain and you give it to him in a press conference after 1 week, what have you said to the...
Can I answer that question for you?
Yeah, you're offside with everybody now.
Okay. I've said this to you before, privately and publicly. Right? We don't profess to be experts on the game. This is just a podcast from a fan's perspective. And
that's it.
Yeah, we love rugby league. But let me tell you something. Some coaches out there think they're actually smarter than what they are.
Yeah.
That is the issue. Right? I listen to press conferences, right, and I listen to coaches and they just babble and babble and babble. Give me a Wayne Bennett press conference any day of the week. Give me a press conference where you can just answer the question. I don't want postmortems. I don't want reasons, right? I don't want long-winded answers. I'm not that smart. Make it simple. He has tried, right, in that press conference to outsmart himself, and you know what? It's backfired.
Yeah.
I mentioned before with St. George, the players are playing for him.
Yeah.
You watch the Cowboys, and any player that plays first grade should be, they've got some ability. There's no question about that. But they are absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Right? He picked, I think it was 2 weeks ago, or may have been last week, he picked 3 hookers in his squad.
Yeah.
No, seriously. No, please.
He did.
Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter, and
Jake Granville.
He can't be serious, can he?
Yeah.
I just want to know what was the hype about him. Can someone please explain it to me? Because there was hype.
Yeah.
He told everybody he got knocked back. He knocked back the Warriors job. Well, I can assure you, and I've got this on good information, they offered him 1 year. He didn't want that because they wanted to see what he was like as a coach. Right? They offered him 1 year. That's why he didn't take the job. He didn't knock it back.
Yeah.
They only wanted 1 year. He wanted more than that. Well, you know what? Come next Saturday or Sunday. At Leichhardt Oval on a sunny Sunday afternoon at Leichhardt with hot dogs and mustard. Well, let me tell you what, he might come back and regret that decision he's made.
Well, how funny was it that when he did make those comments about Taumalolo, half of the media were on his side, and they were like, good on him for, someone had to say it, and good on him, and yet, he's put a line in the sand. Today's the day that the Cowboys were. Have you noticed the media haven't really come out and defended him since? They've sat back now and looked at how abysmal the side is. Now we're starting to hear that Taumalolo wants out.
So explain this to me. So the media are on there. So why can we see it?
Yeah.
The answer to that is the media once again have an agenda.
Yeah, that's
right.
all
they want.
Yeah.
They have an agenda.
Because half of them, they were on his side.
They supported him.
him.
Because they were happy with Todd Payton. Todd Payton. I love we love interviewing him. He calls it as you see it. Well, you know what? Media, Paul Crawley.
Yeah.
All these journalists, Phil Rothfield, go and watch his last 3 media conferences and have a look and see how sheepish and embarrassed he is. Yeah. Right?
And rightly so.
The rumours are starting, like you were going to say. Josh Maguire might be at the Dragons.
Well, Michael, I'm not into rumours.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not into rumours at all. But I would imagine with the start to their season, there would be plenty of players there wanting out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's happened at other clubs before.
Yeah.
Right? And it'll continue to happen when you're not winning.
Yeah. Oh, look, Michael and I support the West Tigers. It's been a decade of failure, right? And everyone talks about the players we let go. Addo-Carr, Tedesco, and then there's the old chestnut. You had Tedesco and Pappenhausen, and you lost both of them, which is right. Pappenhausen didn't see a way through Tedesco. Well, I'm not going to play first grade here. I'll go to the Storm 3 months later. Tedesco leaves. Poor management that you didn't click on that Tedesco was delaying signing a contract and eventually left. Tigers management, abysmal. But, and I'm not defending the Tigers, but they seem to cop it in the press. The Cowboys in the last 6 seasons from their under-20 squad have lost Kalen Ponga, Billy Kickow, Brandon Smith and Jerome Hughes. You reckon they couldn't have done with those 4 players last Saturday night? The end.
Those 4 players plus a miracle and a different coach.
Just to quickly finish up on the Cowboys, I think it put into perspective how poor they were last week against a Sharks side who don't have the greatest squad, but the Sharks put in every single week.
100%.
They do. And they have players like Connor Tracy, who's a utility. He's a utility back, playing in the centres. Young forwards like
He's giving
like
his
Teague
young
Wilton.
giving his young blokes an opportunity. Toby Rudolph,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
they're all
Jake
taking it.
Williams. You know, that's what it is. Let's just wait to see next Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's see if my prophecy comes true.
Yeah,
Tigers better not let me down.
Oh, please.
we'll be there.
Please.
Did you want to talk about Manly?
Yeah.
And how they fared this season? Because they've been very disappointing.
Yeah. Oh, my thing with Manly is so much of their cap is spent on DCE long term and the Trebojevic brothers. It's over 30. It's over a third of their cap. So not only you have to wonder, you have to wish that their form is all on song every week, which on their pay packets it should be. Unfortunately, Tommy Turbo was injured pre-season. It's going to be another year where their highest paid player might play 3/4, maybe a half of the season. You cannot, in this competition, challenge, even really for the semis, if you have so much of your cap out. But probably the most disappointing thing for me with Manly is the lack of form from Foran and Cherry Evans. Their back line it looks slow, it's cumbersome. They just offer so little. They get down to the opposition 20 often, but once they're there, not only they don't score, they don't even look like scoring. They just offer so little. And even if you want to talk about high pay packets, you've got Martin Tapau there. A friend of the show's Josh Alloy, but he's far and away their best forward.
And Sean Kepi's been impressive.
Sean Kepi, yeah, I actually
I
rate
read
him.
Saturday morning about Josh.
You did.
Josh Alloway.
Yeah.
And obviously we've interviewed him here, and I took away the friendship, and I said that he's been their best player. And every time he comes on, they seem to be going forward. With Manly, we touched on the Cowboys and we were very critical. Well, you know what? I think that Manly have been worse, if not.
You reckon?
No question. Do you know, defensively, they have been absolutely horrible. You know, Brookvale Oval used to be, or Lotto Land, or Keno Land, whatever they call it now. It used to be a fortress.
Yeah, it's not.
You know, sides used to fear playing there. I watch them, and it just looks like they're disinterested. You know, they've got injuries, but so's every club. You know, and you're right. They got Turbo and they got Cherry Evans, and you know they're just been horrible.
I've seen, and I even up until last year, I thought Daly Cherry Evans was a very good footballer, and he's still, because obviously it might have changed because COVID didn't allow for international football. But Daly Cherry Evans is the incumbent Australian Test halfback.
Yeah.
And even up until last year, I thought he would put the team on his back and do his best to try to get Manly to victory. This season, he's been noticeably poor, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't had much help from Kieran Foran. I mean, I watched Kieran Foran, on Friday night or Thursday night, and I watched him against his last play options are horrible.
Yeah.
He's been, I'm not going to question him because he's been a fantastic player. I mean, injuries have cruelled him, but my God, have they put all their eggs in one basket with him?
Well, we saw the debut of Josh Schuster last year.
He's a 5'8". He's an out-and-out 5'8".
Yeah, and to accommodate Foran, we're playing Schuster in the back row, and yes,
he's trying hard. Yeah. He's playing well.
And he's a big body, and he doesn't shirk his task, but you accommodated Foran. He's offered nothing to that side.
Yeah. What happens, guys?
I feel sorry for the kid because he's playing in the back row doing his absolute best. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Another signing they made was Jason Saab. Now this is where I feel the problem is at Manly. Whether it's, close enough is good enough. Now, Jason Saab is like 10 foot tall. They were playing Penrith. Manly put up an attacking kick to his wing. Brian To'o, who's
not 6 foot,
he's like a foot shorter, out-leapt him, took the ball and ran off. And I'm sitting there going, well, bro, you don't really ruck it out too hard. If we're not going to use your height as an advantage, what's your role in that side?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, Simon. The conjecture regarding him leaving St. George. St. George didn't hesitate in letting him go. And, again, to play first grade, you've got have a bit of ability. But, I mean, he's a big body.
Yeah.
If you notice when he runs, he turns his back.
Yeah.
Right? I look at Manly and I look at Des Hasler and his record speaks for itself. Right? He hasn't had much success over the last few years. But I just think when you're a coach and you're struggling, you tend to look for your players that you've relied on over the years instead of trying to blood some new players, put them in new positions. He's clutching at straws, hoping that Kieran Foran might produce. I mean, Dylan Walker at fullback. He's not a fullback. No. Dylan Walker is a centre. Yeah. I think he played in New South Wales, Professor.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's a centre. And they're struggling. And you're right, Simon. Where's their next wing coming from? Maybe the Cowboys, maybe the Broncos.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And I've just got their roster up here. They've got Tom Trebojevic and Jake Trebojevic signed until the end of 2026.
Well, Jake Trebojevic has gone backwards, but that comes from confidence because he's a quality player.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Jake Trebojevic,
absolutely,
because he's stuck doing a whole lot of tackling. There's a couple other props in that side who shirk,
no question,
and he's left to do that mess. And his running game's disappeared.
Yeah,
and I just think it's because he's got no gas left because he's just working too hard in D.
Yeah. Jeff, did you want to?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, which side do you want to discuss?
I want to discuss Canterbury.
Okay. Go for it.
I want to preface by saying that if you viewers want to go back to may have been our first or second podcast, I questioned the signing of Trent Barrett.
You did, yes.
If you're a team that's been in the doldrums for a long time, my personal opinion is that you need an experienced coach with a bit of credibility and success. They've pinned their hopes on Trent Barrett. Okay, the guy's been blessed. Now, he's been credited with Penrith's attack. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Is Canterbury's roster better than what it was last year?
Yes.
Okay. Now, poor Dean Pay, right?
Yeah.
They tried their heart out, Canterbury, last year.
They still do.
Okay. They tried their heart out. They have absolutely nothing in attack. What they are actually boring.
Oh yeah,
it's like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
Now,
it's like
in his press conference, In his press conference, Trent Barrett said, "Oh, I know what's wrong with my attack, but I'm not telling you." Well, you don't need to tell me, mate. You actually don't need to tell me anything, because I ain't that stupid, and neither are you two.
Yeah.
I want to know once again, what is the hype about these young coaches? Yeah. What is it? I'll make another outlandish statement. Right, they're going to give him till the end of the year. Right, then they get Adokar and Matt Burton. Right. Whether they're going to improve more, I don't know. But I'll say this. If they don't improve next year, he won't get another first grade job ever again. He's had two chances.
No, he won't. No.
He's had two chances.
Yeah. My thing with Canterbury...
Do you think I'm being too harsh?
No, I don't. With Canterbury, we all said last year, they were very pedestrian and they couldn't score more than 10 or 12 points a game. But we always said, they played their heart out. And I thought that was a good base for them to kick off this year. When you add Flanagan, who's actually a halfback, and Nick Kotrick, so now they've got a bit of strike out wide. Jack Hetherington had a good year on loan at the Warriors. I thought he'd be a good player.
I've got to say, he's been really good for them.
Yeah. So I thought you will see a natural... And I said at the start of the year, I think they'll win 6 or 7 games. And then with the addition of Burton and Adokar, I thought, they'll challenge next year. They're not playing any better than the weaker squad that Dean Pay used to trot out every week. Now, okay, the fans were up in arms, Dean Pay, he's not picking this guy. He had nobody to pick. There was no superstars in reserve grade or the under-20s that he could bring in to fix the mess that he inherited. So now we've given him a bit of quality, but we've told him he's got to go.
So where's the media in all of this, Simon?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, because when Trent Barrett first got signed, I remember the sort of rumblings around rugby league circles were he struggled at Manly, it's a poor signing, and then as the preseason went on, people started thinking, look, Trent Barrett...
Because they were talking about Penrith's attack, and he was the attacking
and the media
coach.
just kept... Trent Barrett, he's a good coach, he's done this, he's done that, and people's opinions started changing from when he first signed off no basis, off no games played.
As a St George supporter,
yeah,
I can tell you, Trent Barrett was a media
darling.
Very rarely copped any criticism. I'm not questioning his playing ability. I have my own views on that, right? But he was a protected species with the media. Where are they now? Can someone explain to me, where are they now? Why isn't he being questioned?
Yeah, which I'll go further on to your point. As I said, last year and for the last few years, their attack has just been hardly existent. As I said, we've got Flanagan and Kotrick. I forgot they also signed Corey Allen as well.
Now, who was magnificent for South last year,
and played well in State of Origin.
They've played 3 games and have not scored a point.
But do you know what's even worse though? So they actually haven't looked like scoring.
They don't look like scoring. So I don't know where the problem is, but he's got to be I mean, if they had started the season 0-4, but they were into games and you know what I mean, and they were competing and that, but they've been blown away everywhere. 28-0, 38-0. It's not getting better. And as you said, he says in press conferences, it's not an easy fix. Well, when's the next time you're going to score a point?
Yeah, he says it's not, but he knows what the problem is. Well, you know what? If you know what the problem is, you're getting paid to fix that problem. And fix it.
If they're not careful, if they go through another 4 or 5 weeks of not winning a game and not scoring points, Adokar and Burton are going to say, Burton might say, you know what, I'm going to just stay on the bench here at Penrith.
But don't you think they're saying that now?
They might be.
Don't you think they're saying that now? Because all it's going to take, think about this, especially for Matt Burton, it's going to take one serious injury from Penrith, and they're going to throw him in, and then he can play first grade every week, right. And he'll get used to winning, right? Which he already is, and he's going to start to second guess himself.
But I did say in our season preview, I said the signing of Trent Barrett buys the Dogs a bit of time because the media love him and they'll go easy on him. 3 games with 0. Let's see how long they.
I opened the paper. I think yes, it was a Sunday yesterday. I get confused. I opened the paper yesterday. There was not one bit of criticism. Why? Why?
Because he's a good bloke.
So am I, mate.
Yeah.
You two still give me a bit of stick.
We'll wrap it up there.
I thought we were going to talk about the greatest winger of all time.
Yeah,
Can we please just touch on that very quickly?
The greatest winner of all time.
Yeah, Brett Morris.
I think
Brett Morris.
Please,
Yeah.
please, can we just quickly...
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've said since it's round 1 that their game in round 1 that I think that the way he's playing now, Brett Morris is the best winger I've ever seen. And obviously, there's Ken Irvine who scored the most tries. But even speaking to people that did watch Ken Irvine play, they think that Brett Morris's power, his smoothness in the way he runs the ball, I think he's just the perfect winger. And he turns 35 this year. And in an era where wingers are 6'3", 106 kilos, monsters, he's outshone them all.
Simon, we've been watching football. I have. I'm 53. I've been watching footy for 40 years as an educated.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, and as an educated supporter, I've seen some great wingers. Eric Gray. The thing that stands out with Brett Morris, it's a few things. It's his longevity, consistency, week in, week out. I remember when he first debuted for St George. I'd be holding my head in my hands hoping that he wouldn't drop the ball because, he had suspect hands to start off with.
And that's just baffling to think about now.
It's just not the runaway tries. It's just the fact that he can get over the line with players around him. He is, without doubt, for me, the best winger that I've ever seen overall. And you know what? We look at families and brothers and father. Let's put it in perspective. Between him, his brother, and Slippery, his father, it's a remarkable record. Yeah. It is just unbelievable.
Did Slippery play for Australia as well?
Yes, he did as a halfback though.
But then ended up on the wing.
And scored over 100 tries. He's one of my favourite players. But it's just a remarkable achievement. And you're right, he's 35 and it just feels like he's getting better.
Yeah.
He hasn't taken a backward step.
Yeah. Well, he debuted, I think, in 06. I think it was 2006 he debuted. We're working out how many tries has he scored?
I can get it up.
Yeah, we've worked
out.
I
hope you can get it up.
We've worked it out that he scored basically 12 or 13 tries a year for about 15 years in a row.
Look, how do you do that?
He debuted in 06 and he's played 273 games.
Thanks, Middo.
And scored 174 tries.
That is just a remarkable record.
The thing is, in that time, we've had other wingers come through just in his career. I mean, we can go back and we can, look at Eric Growth and the great wingers of the
Glenn Nisson, Sandy.
and you had Kerry Bowstead. But then, in the meantime, just during his career, we've had, Semi Randrandras come on the scene and, he's, probably one of the great, then Micah Sue, he's great. And even to a lesser extent, Taniela Tuiaki, wow.
Lottie
Takiri, Wendell Saylor. They've all had these great careers. But like you said, as for longevity and just consistency and being able to score 12 or 13 tries a year and just the stuff he does out of dummy half at his age, running it out of the... even last night we watched... The Warriors put in a good kick into the in goals that went deep into the...
And he got it out. No other winger would have done that.
And no other winger would have done that. Hands down, the best winger the game's ever
seen. I made a comment a few years ago that Semi Radradra... Please say it for me.
Semi Radradra.
When I saw him play those 2 years, I thought to myself, I'm looking at probably the best winger. But again, I'll come back to the longevity. And what he's done in the game, it's unheard of. And I'm glad we spoke about it.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Terrific.
18 tests, 15 origin matches.
You trying to get a job with Channel 9 or something, mate?
If they get hacked again, he might.
Yes.
He might get it right.
All right, I think that's it.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're me and my dad were both interested to see how the Tigers go this afternoon. Hope to make Para 3-1, not 4-0, but
So am I.
we'll see. A very strong side. We'll see you next week with a special guest. And
Unfortunately, he couldn't make it this week due
Yeah.
to the Easter break, but he's definitely coming next week.
yeah, we'll see you then.
Bye, guys.